Hi, Grayson, Isley, and Atlas. I hope you guys had a wonderful day. I sure did. And I want to keep going from the place where we were stopped in the middle of the trail on the way up to the scooped portion of the Dug Mountain where the lean-to is. It's called the middle trail, not the left dug or the right dug, but up the middle to the lean-to. We were at the resting spot, and our counselor, remember, he gave us a beautiful orange and some bug juice to get us refreshed, to pick up our spirits. So we got done with that, and we started back on the trail, and we were walking along, and we came around a bend and looked over to the left, and there was a huge elk, a moose. Moose sometimes come around Lake Whitaker. Not very often, but sometimes you can spot them. And there off to the left of the trail, down in a little field, was this gigantic moose, a big animal. And my counselor said, "Shh, everybody be quiet. We're going to watch the moose and see what he does." So we sat down on the trail and we looked over, and there was this big moose just sort of walking through the little meadow portion of the woods. And he went over to a stream and he put down his head and started drinking water. And then suddenly he lifted up his head and he looked straight at us, straight at our little group with the 2 counselors and the 5 campers. And he looked, and his nose started to flare out, and suddenly, boom! He took off, running straight towards us as fast as he could in a gallop. It was like a horse galloping. He was racing right towards us across the field and up the slope of the forest. And our counselor said, "Quick, everybody, up the tree!" And we grabbed our hands onto a big pine tree, and up we went as fast as we could, because we did not want to be in the path of an angry moose. Moose are generally nice animals. They're kind of like big horses. But when they get mad, they go into a protection mode. And what we learned was that this moose had a little baby moose, and she was protecting the baby. And well, you know how mothers are about their children. Yeah. You know how much your mom loves you and protects you from all evil and all kinds of bad stuff that happens in this world. Your mom loves you a lot, and so she protects you. Well, it's the same thing with that moose. That moose loved her little baby moose. They call them calves. And that little calf was lying down, hidden in the meadow. And the mommy was standing up looking around. Well, when she saw these humans up on the trail, she went into a panic and charged straight towards us with all her might. In the meantime, we clambered up the tree. So we were up in the branches, looking down at the moose, running. And that moose came right up to the spot where we were before we clambered up the tree. And she began to prance around and stamp her feet and snort with her nose. And it took her a couple minutes to quiet down. But the 2 counselors and the 5 campers from the Red Fox cabin were up in the tree, just quiet, looking down at the moose. She calmed down. She took a deep breath. And then she went back down the forest trail, back down into the meadow, and picked up her calf. She didn't pick her up, but she took her nose and nudged the calf's back and made the calf stand up on its own 4 legs, and off they went into the trees. So that was our adventure, but it was only the beginning. We got back on that trail and we kept on going, and we went down and up and down and up, and we were going for about an hour and a half, and our legs were starting to get tired. And the counselor said, "Stop, sit down, it's rest time." You see, a good camp counselor knows when to call a timeout, knows when to give his campers a rest time. I had a couple of good counselors, and they knew that our legs were getting tired, so they said, "Take it easy, another rest stop." So we sat down. This time, my counselor pulled into his backpack and he pulled out, do you know what he pulled out? You take a guess. What did he pull out of his knapsack to give us some energy? Right! He pulled out a chocolate candy bar. Chocolate gives you strength and energy when you're tired. So he passed around a chocolate bar to everybody in the group, and we sat there enjoying our chocolate. The sun was streaming down through the trees. We saw some birds up in the trees starting to chirp and make their little songs of praise to the Lord. We saw some salamanders over on the side. We even saw some fish swimming in the stream that was along beside us. We were having a wonderful time. And then something happened. And I'll tell you about it next time. I love you. Have a wonderful sleep.